Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.
Nino Brown Boxing, and I'm back in the building. Shout out to LDBC. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Man, I've been trying to hold off on talking about this whole topic. I said in previous videos I won't talk about it anymore, but new information has come out. Thanks to Blue Blood Sports TV. Shout out to you, Blue Blood. A new interview comes out of Kenny Porter responding to what's going on in this whole boxing community, the YouTube community, and it's time to talk about it. Now, this is in no particular order. It's just things that are pretty much highlighted in my brain right now. I watched the interview and I watched it again. And one of the questions prior to all of this Earl Spence talk that has come up, one of the main questions were pretty much Kenny Porter trying to control everything that Shawn Porter does. Now, based off of, I don't know. I think Kenny Porter is just one of those guys that he says shit and he forget what he says. Now, granted, I'm only 29 years old, so I'm not going to be out here pretending like I know what's best when it comes for a son that's the same age as me. To me, that would be foolish because I have no idea. But one thing I do know how to do is I know how to sniff between bullshit. I know how to call a spade, and I definitely know how to point out contradictions. Now, Kenny Porter told Blue Blood that the way he controls Shawn Porter, or all of that talk has nothing to do with boxing. When in the boxing interview with Showtime and Angel Garcia, he went on to talk about how he could control what Shawn Porter does. Now, the thing about the whole controlling Shawn Porter, obviously it can go outside of the realm of the boxing world, but definitely it also applies in this whole boxing game as well. Another thing I noticed is how defensive this guy is. Now, he tried to make a point in this video and say, well, you know, you guys keep talking about, oh, I got money. If you got it, you don't have to say it. Well, okay, I understand that. If that's the case, Kenny, if you're not worried about any of this, if you don't know who these guys are, you know, if you don't have to say it because you know the truth, why are you so defensive? Yes, I understand you want to take the interview. I understand that you want to give the fans your perspective. I understand that you want to, you know, be out there and discuss it, and you want to be relevant in, you know, in the conversations. I get it. But why so defensive? I don't know, it's just watching this interview, it looked like he's literally backed up against a wall and he's trying to talk his way out of a situation that's extremely uncomfortable for him. He also goes on to make, you know, less sense when he tries to say, well, you know, I just read the titles of the video on the side. Well, first he went on to say, who are you? And he was implying like he didn't know who Blue Blood Sports TV was. Now, unless I'm interpreting that wrong, correct me. But it seems like he was implying that he didn't know who he was. And then it went from he watches his videos and he sees people on the side and he reads their titles. Now, unless he's watching some videos that I've never seen before, but some of the talking points that he's speaking on and the way that he's able to go in depth about it is way beyond titles. It's way beyond the first minute of the video. You know, and my thing is, if you watch, you watch. Like, if you watch, it's no big deal. But it seems like, based off what he's saying, that he doesn't watch, and he's getting so defensive, like, the titles aren't that bad to the point that you're so defensive in the manner that you are. Now, let's get on more of the boxing talk. The key question I would like, Nino Brown Boxing, I want Kenny Porter to answer, that it's been in my mind, and I've spoke about it on it from videos months back, is he keeps talking about the whole IBF situation. Kenny Porter talks about, oh, I can't, if you're not rated, it can't happen. If you're not, you know, If you jump the line, you'll get sued. Last I checked, Errol Spence Jr. fought Lamont Peterson 2018. Lamont Peterson was in the current place of Manny Pacquiao. He was the WBA regular champion. The WBA regular champion, even though it's not the actual championship, it's not the WBA super title, a WBA regular champion cannot be ranked by another sanctioning body. This is fact. What happened? Lamont Peterson vacated the WBA regular title. With that being said, because I don't want to skip over any points, I don't want anyone to have to come up with their own interpretation because I left room for it. That means prior to vacating the WBA regular title, Lamont Peterson was not ranked by the IBF. Once again, prior to vacating the WBA regular title, my fellow DC native, Lamont Peterson, was not ranked by the IBF, meaning he was in the same state, the same position as Shawn Porter. Same exact position. But what happened? Errol Spence decided to make Lamont Peterson his mandatory. Doing what? Skipping the top 10 rated guys in the IBF. I thought that was illegal, Kenny Porter. I haven't heard any lawsuits filed against the IBF by the guys in their rankings. See, it's just, I don't know. And another thing I found funny about this whole, like, he always talks about sanctioning bodies, but he's been being screwed around by the WBC for the longest time. Now, the other thing is, we're currently, before I get to the whole point about him being screwed around by the WBC, another point is he decided to mention that why would he choose to fight Errol Spence over fighting for the WBC title? Well, prior to getting this Danny Garcia fight, Kenny, remember, Shawn didn't have a fight guaranteed for that WBC strap. You all were talking about you wanted it. You all was talking about some phone calls had to be made, basically implying if the WBC is going to do you dirty, you was going to set them straight, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. If that's the case, that means you don't have a title shot at that point. But even at that particular time, because I remember listening to videos while I was working out in the gym of Kenny Porter talking about, well, he's going to have to make some phone calls if the WBC doesn't give them the shot next. But Shawn Porter fought Andre Berto. And then Shawn Porter fought Adrian Granados. So I'm really trying to figure out, why couldn't you have fought Errol Spence instead of Andre Berto? Why couldn't you have fought Errol Spence instead of Adrian Granados? See, those are the questions that Kenny needs to answer. Now, of course, he's going to try to talk in circles. Of course, he's going to get very defensive. See, Errol Spence has already stated, Shawn Porter was offered the fight. They didn't want it. The thing I find funny about all of this is Errol Spence is the welterweight IBF champion, right? Now, Kenny Porter likes to point out all the time that, you know, these guys are just YouTubers. These guys are just at home, this, and that. Errol Spence is the champ. You know, he's successfully defended that title more times than Shawn was able to. So it sounds like to me that Errol Spence Jr. has a longer standing relationship with the IBF than Shawn Porter and Kenny Porter ever had. With that being said, Errol Spence would know all about voluntary defenses. Because from what I remember, and if I could be wrong, it's been a while, but from what I remember, Shawn Porter didn't have any voluntary defenses with the IBF. So it takes me to the whole point of Kenny. Are you going to say the current IBF champion doesn't know how the IBF works? You know, that's my whole thing. If what Earl Spence did was so wrong, the fight wouldn't have been sanctioned against Lamont Peterson. You know, I'm sure Earl Spence's next fight, it won't be a mandatory. Oh, wait a minute. They're talking about Earl Spence fighting Mikey Garcia. For what? Most likely the IBF title. Now, it's no guarantee that the fight will happen. You know, it's been some word about the fight being pushed back. But all of that talk aside, you're talking about a guy that's moving up from 135 back. Well, you know, he fought at 140 all the way up to 147. First fight at 147, and he can fight Earl Spence, but Shawn Porter can't. Like, it's absolute bullshit. All of this talk originated from the whole topic of Shawn Porter being afraid of Earl Spence Jr. For me, it's nothing more than that. I can care less about anything else that Kenny Porter is talking about. But when it gets to the whole Earl Spence topic, when it gets to the IBF topic, that's when Nino Brown Boxing actually gives a damn. All of that other stuff is irrelevant to me, because Kenny Porter can put whatever spin he wants to on it. But the thing about it is, we've seen it done. What he's saying can't be done, it's already been done. So why not just be a man about it and be honest and say, we don't want to fight Earl Spence Jr. And if that's the case, it is what it is. Yes, people are going to clown you. It comes with the territory. But all of this time wasting, all of this talking in circles, you know, all of this, let me flex on you to make myself feel better about the situation, all of these deflection tactics. Stop wasting time. Because the thing about it with all of this, if Shawn Porter loses to Danny Garcia, it's not even going to matter anymore. It won't even matter. And we all know by history. See, it seemed like Kenny Porter, he likes to point out, well, all of this is speculation. It's not true. Those aren't his words verbatim. But he's saying like, well, you don't know this, how it goes on in the background, and you don't know how that goes on behind the scenes, and you don't know what they've told us, and you know what? We're not privy to that information. Cool. We're not at the table. We're not on the phone calls when those discussions are happening. If we hear anything about that, you know, it's passed through a few ears to mouths in the communication. Okay, cool. We get that. The telephone game has occurred if we get certain information. We didn't get it from the source. That is understood. But the one thing the fans do know, the one thing that these broke YouTubers know, the one thing that these guys sitting on their couch do know, is in big fights, Shawn Porter loses. Once again, that's one thing we do know. He lost to Keith Thurman. He lost to Kell Brook. Shit. He embarrassed himself against Adrian Bronner. Now, that's one thing the fans do know. And another thing the fans know is, in big fights, when he's the underdog, as much as I dislike the guy, Danny Garcia tends to get it done. Now, Kenny Porter, you know, all of this negativity that's going on and all of this energy that you say you don't want going your way, and the attention that you're receiving and discussions that are being had right now, you're going to miss it when it's gone. Because it was barely any talks about this Danny Garcia-Shawn Porter fight prior to all of the controversy. Imagine how it'll go Imagine how to go once. If Shawn Porter loses to Danny Garcia. Now, if Shawn Porter wins, it's an interview out there. Well, if I'm not mistaken, with Blue Blood Sports TV as well. Shout out to Blue Blood for putting that work in. It's an interview out there when Shawn Porter saying that he will fight Errol Spence after he wins the WBC title. Now, we all know how Kenny Porter rolls. Some people, he'll get all defensive. And I wrote that in the comment section on the a Blue Blood Sports TV interview with Kenny Porter. And some guy said, well, what do you expect? That's nature. Something of the sort. And it's like, when it comes to other stuff, I get it. Or if my son was a child, I get it. Shawn Porter's a daddy. Like, he's a daddy now. And I understand that in certain instances, the dynamic never changed of being defensive of your child. But Shawn Porter is a grown-ass man. And you can look out for the best interests of your child when it comes to serious matters in life. But Kenny Porter, you're downplaying it like these are nobodies and what they're saying doesn't even matter. So if it doesn't matter, why can't your adult son handle this on his own? Because it's either A, it's a big deal to you, or B, what they're saying is true. Now, me personally, I feel like it's a big deal. I feel like Kenny Porter knows exactly who the guys in the LDBC are. He knows all of the talking points because he watches all of the videos. He watches it over and over again, and he sees the truth in these statements, and it makes his blood boil. That's what I think it is. Like, I'm sure their dynamic behind the scenes is a whole lot different. I believe that 100%. And like I said earlier in my video, I'm not here to give daddy advice to a guy that has a son that's my age. But one thing I do see is Shawn Porter, Errol Spence, they didn't want to fight. Like Kenny Porter said, that has the whole daddy topic and this and that has nothing to do with boxing. Well, let's keep it 100 and let's focus on the boxing. Shawn Porter could have took the Lamont Peterson route. He didn't. Even though Kenny Porter would doubt, he would deny it to the fullest. If Manny Pacquiao offered Shawn Porter a fight with no title, well, forget that. Let's say WBA regular champion Manny Pacquiao offers Shawn Porter a title as a voluntary prior to getting this Danny Garcia WBC title shot, they'll take it because of the money. They'll definitely take it. Now, they may say they won't. They may try to talk all tough and say, oh no, we want the WBC belt. It seems like to me that the Porters are all about, they want the lowest risk with the highest reward. Now, I'm not saying by any stretch of any imagination that Danny Garcia is more of a risk than Manny Pacquiao. I am not saying that at all. I am simply saying the money in that situation with Manny Pacquiao will definitely outweigh the WBC belt. That's just how I feel about it. I feel like I talked about this topic enough right now. I may come back with another one. You never know. We may get a part 3. We may get a different perspective that I didn't even think about. I'm sure I'm leaving a few things out. But this is Nino Brown Boxing. Shout out to the LDBC. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.